welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin, and I look a little wet because I got caught out in the rain. It is yet another day here in Pennsylvania with rain. I think at this point it has rained every single day for the last 2 weeks. The majority of those 2 weeks it has rained the entire day, but the last couple of days we've got a little bit of sun and then a ton of rain. And when I say a ton of rain, I mean my rain gauge is getting filled up every single day. A ton of rain is coming down. So we're kind of just gonna hang out. I haven't been able to go out in the garden. I have a lot of garden work I need to do, but it has been literally pouring buckets almost every single day. So the garden work has not been able to happen. But I thought I'd bring you guys along today. Today was one of my favorite places. We go over to Amish County, an Amish area, and I get to buy a whole bunch of my bulk goods, canning goods, the whole 9 yards. So I went over there today. So I got a 25-pound bag of long grain rice, 25 pounds for 16 bucks. I didn't think that was a bad deal at all. And then I got a 50-pound bag of raw cane sugar. Now the price of my cane sugar has gone up a good bit. I think it went up by about 9 bucks. The 50-pound bag lasts me for about 6 months. And I use raw cane sugar. I prefer that for my personal use over processed sugar. The raw cane sugar is healthier. However, I do still buy it. I buy like one every like 2 years. I do still buy like normal white granulated sugar, and I use that either A, for when I make my hummingbird syrup. I don't use my fancy sugar for the hummingbirds. Or 2, every now and then the raw cane sugar is not as sweet as granulated sugar. It's definitely a more subdued sweetness, and so sometimes you just need that pop of the regular sugar. So I buy maybe a 5-pound bag of regular sugar, regular white granulated sugar, once every 2 years, and it lasts me forever. So typically I use my raw granulated sugar, so I was able to get another bag of that. I was getting a little low, so I was happy to get that done. And then I want to come outside and do work, and it's raining. So we're kind of trying to wait out the rain. I have some things I want to do, but I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to talk about first how I store my bulk goods. So I have a substantial amount of bulk goods that I store. I do flour, white all-purpose flour, bread flour, sugar, and rice. I thought about getting a big bag of oats. They also had a big bag of oats. I said no to that. I don't use that many oats. I don't think I need a 5-gallon bucket of oats. But I bought these off of Amazon, and they come with gamma lids. I'm currently washing the gamma lids because the tops got messy. I apparently had a mouse in my basement this winter. I never saw it. I have 3. Oops. Oh, I almost caught that. I don't think it was actually falling at first. I think I just made it fall. The playback on that would be funny. Anywho, so I have 3 animals in this house. So the fact that I had a mouse, I don't understand. I had a mouse for the first time ever since I've been here. Last winter, I had 2. We got rid of them. And I never saw this one, but on the top of one of my lids, there was mouse dirt. So it goes to show you, they tried to get in the, my cat is on the couch like he looks dead. Monroe. Hey. Really goes to show you, when mice can get in everything, they couldn't get into my buckets. And they were trying to, the only lid that had poop on was the sugar bucket, which makes sense. So I brought my lids up for the only one was messed with, but I brought the other buckets and lids up for all the other buckets we're gonna fill, and gave them a wash. They're nice and clean. For whatever reason, I don't understand, gamma lids are expensive. I don't understand. I have now bought 6 buckets, and I think 3 buckets with gamma lids are like $50, $60, something like that. One gamma lid, by itself without a bucket, is like, last time I checked, the gamma lid by itself is $11, $12. So they're not cheap, especially when you buy in bulk. You gotta kind of just space them out. So I've made 2 separate purchases. Oh, I want to try first. So I've made 2 separate purchases of those gamma lids. I love them. Like I said, the mouse tried to get in, wasn't able to. So they work really well. A typical bucket lid that you can get like at the hardware store, they would have been able to get into that. And then what I find really annoying with those typical bucket lids is I have my extra flour that before I started buying bulk flour, I had like 5-pound bags of flour. And actually, not even before I started buying, now it might have changed. I haven't done the math lately, but the last time I bought flour, it was cheaper to buy it in the 5-pound bags than it was to buy it in the 25-pound, 50-pound bags. So I have just the hardware store buckets with the hardware store lid that just holds like random 5-pound bags of flour. And those lids are so hard to get off. You could not get in and out of those buckets easily. So the Gamma lids just make life super easy, so I love them. So I have lids drying, so I'll put the white rice in one bucket, and then the 50-pound bag of sugar is going to go into 2 buckets. So we did that today, which was exciting. I think that's it. I think I'm stocked up then on a lot of my bulk goods. I also got a thing of panko. This was how big? 1.5-pound bag of panko. Panko lasted for a little bit. So I didn't think I needed like a ton of this. I just got like a little 1.5-pound bag. But I feel pretty good about where we stand with our bulked goods. So I'm happy we got them taken care of. I do want to go back in a month and I want to get some flour and some salt because I'm getting low on both of them, but not low enough and not enough money this time around to get those this time. So we'll just go back. We always love going over there. It's always a fun day. So we did that. So I had everything washed and drying. I'm kind of sitting here like, well, what do I do? So let's talk about what I want to do. Oh, what we also need to do is I made jam yesterday. I picked raspberries. I picked a nice big bowl of raspberries. I put a picture in here. And so I made jam. Cool. Look, like jam's not supposed to do that. So my jam didn't set. I typically put it in the fridge to see if it sets. I put it in the freezer to see if it was gonna set, and I think that was a mistake. So my jam didn't set. So I'm gonna have to reprocess it. I'm gonna open it, cook it down again, add more pectin, and reprocess this. So I'm probably gonna do that right now, because it started raining again. But if this happened to you, if you made jam and it didn't set, I don't measure anything. I just eyeball everything. So this is not uncommon for me. Typically I do better than this though. I will say, typically I'm better at estimating. But if you have jam that didn't set, I did think about not cooking this again. I did think about like, I don't want to mess with this again. You could put this, it is canned so it can go on the shelf. You could use this like a raspberry sauce. You could use it to get out and make barbecue sauce with in the future. You could use it to add to like a vanilla cake batter or like a pound cake batter. You could pour it directly over ice cream. This is still 100% a usable product if you're just like, you know what, I don't have the time, it didn't set, moving on with life. It would now be considered more just sauce or like raspberry juice rather than jam. However, I wanted jam. So, and I wanted 1/2-pint jars. I'm completely out of 1/2-pint jars. That's why I did a pint. I don't like them in this size. And I honestly wanted more than this. I'm upset that this is all I got. So, but that's okay. I actually still have a lot of raspberry jam on the shelf from last year. So that's okay. We're right in the start of raspberry season anyway. I have some other things I want to make with my raspberries. I want to do my normal raspberry lemon loaf bread that we put in the freezer. I want to do this year, that's different. I want to do a raspberry chipotle barbecue sauce because I think that sounds fantastic. And so currently on my shelves, I have a chipotle peach barbecue sauce, which is really good. And I have Ina Garten's barbecue sauce. So I'm thinking like, let's keep like adding barbecue sauces into the mix because that sounds fun. So raspberries are just starting to come in. I'm just kind of harvesting them every other day. So the next batch of raspberries, oh, and I also want to make popsicles. I haven't made popsicles yet this year, so I want to make some raspberry popsicles. So raspberries are going to be at the top of our list that we're going to be doing stuff with. So these two things are going to get reprocessed. But now let's go to the project that I want to do today. It seems to have stopped raining for right now. So let's take a look and see what we see. So I have this gorgeous row of daylilies and irises and regular lilies, and I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's absolutely stunning. The problem is Oops. The problem is the daylilies, which are blooming right now, stop blooming, and then there's nothing here. And then how gorgeous this was is now not gorgeous anymore. So it is late to start these, which is also why I'm like doing this in the rain, because I want to try to get zinnias to grow here. So I'm just running through the dirt, running my little square foot planter guy. This is what you're supposed to use to put seeds in the ground when you do the square foot method. I use it just for putting holes in the ground in general. And I'm just throwing seeds into the ground. I am covering them up. And I'm hoping, because I'm getting them in right now while it's raining, I'm hoping that these start growing, because like I said, I am a little late. I should have done this earlier, and I didn't honestly really think about it. I don't know what the inspiration was, but I finally got inspiration. And I was like, Caitlin, this is what you should be doing. I hope you can hear that thunder. I am running, trying to beat more rain. And then at least these will get rained in, which will be really nice. Oh, it's picking up. We're so close. I did the first third of this and just got absolutely drenched. I'm almost to the end. Let me keep going. Don't make me stop. I do need to come out here and weed this bed. Everything in the garden actually at this point needs weeded. The rain has just, oh my goodness. Everything is growing like gangbusters. And I can't get out here to freaking weed it. This bag is completely soaked and it's now torn. So I'm just going to throw the last couple of seeds here. I hope I had enough. Well, I did. I got the whole way down. Now I hope they grow. Let's go inside because I'm getting really wet. But isn't this daylily rose so pretty? So I sprayed my garden with some weed killer trying to kill the thistle that is taking over this space. And for whatever reason, this area here, the big orange daylilies, they're here. They're just much, much smaller. So there's a little hole in the middle of that, but I still think it looks really nice. So let's go inside and then we'll talk about the zinnias. I'm happy we got that done. Why wait till the day that it's raining to be like, you need to plant zinnias? But hey, at least we got it done. No, my legs are itchy. Ugh. Anywho, but I'm really hoping that those zinnias grow and fill in that border, because that border, while right now it's gorgeous, in like 3 weeks there won't be anything there. It'll just be the greenery. So, and I do think that look at this, not wet jam should do. Now the bottom is set, but we're just gonna get it all out. That's my finger. It tastes really good though. Oh my goodness. That is so raspberry, it's not even funny. It tastes just like and I did pick these off yesterday, but it tastes like I just picked these raspberries off of the vine. And so in the middle of winter, these will be really, really good. So I just want to get, because there is a little bit of like the gel kind of stuck at the bottom. I just want to get as much out as I can. And then I'm just going to refill these jars. I'm not going to wash them. I don't think I need to because it's just the same product going back in. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up to a bowl and then I'm going to add more pectin. Yeah, I think those zinnias along that border will look so pretty. So fingers crossed that they grow. Let's hope that they grow. I am going to have to go put some Sluggo out there because I did see a whole bunch of roly-polies. So I'll spread some Sluggo so that as my zinnias hopefully germinate, they don't get eaten. And then hopefully we have just a really nice border of zinnia. So cross your fingers. So we got that project done. I also did want to plant my second sunflower bed. I planted sunflowers in it. I fed the squirrels. That's all I did with that. So we should turn a water bath on. This is my water bath canner from yesterday. This is not a water bath canner, but sometimes for small loads, I just use a big stock pot and we call it a day. It works fine. So I wanted to plant that extra sunflower bed today. And as of right now, we're not going to do that. It's still like pretty nicely raining. And I don't want to do it in the rain. I want to do it when it's not super hot out, but not really in the rain. So I think we're just going to stay inside now and, oh my God, I'm just making a mess and a half. And just fix our raspberry jam. Now hopefully this batch sets up. Go ahead and clean the jars completely. Now I just washed my lids, and I'm going to reuse them. Now I've been Canon for a while, so I'm comfortable with Canon. The rule is you're not supposed to reuse these. However, like I said, I'm comfortable with Canon, so I'm not concerned. If you are at all concerned, use a new ring. I typically 99.99% of the time always go for a new lid. However, or not a new ring. I go, if you're not comfortable, get a new lid. These are the ones I canned the first time. I'm reusing these. 99.99% of the time, I do grab a new ring. You're saying ring. I do grab a new lid. I don't reuse lids. However, I keep all my lids. And during COVID, we had a lid crisis. And if we needed to, I would have 1,000% reused my lids. So what you want to look for in order to reuse a lid, if you want to do this, it saves money. As things get more expensive, I've 100% thought about, rather than going and buying new lids, which I did just do today, reusing some of our old ones. The only reason you don't want to reuse your old ones is they may not seal. So what I like to do is a lid that has already been used, I open it and I look and I make sure that whatever this red part is, like I call it like the gluey area, that's what seals to the jar. I want to make sure that's free of blemishes. It's not missing. There's no holes in it. I want to make sure that area is good. And then I also want to make sure that my lid does not have any, like when you open it, sometimes you can bend the metal. I want to make sure the lid doesn't have any flaws with it. As long as that lid looks good, I will reuse that lid. So let's put this in the sink to soak. Like I said, I've been doing it for a while, and I'm to the point that I can look at a product and I can say that lid has failed. Sometimes when I have two actually over here that I just saw. So let's do a little pop quiz, and we will see if you can tell why I noticed that the lids had failed. So I'm waiting for my water to come up to boil before we put the raspberry jam back in there to recan. But let's do our pop quiz. So sometimes you can look at your jars, and I just had a jar of peaches fail a couple months ago. And I looked at the jar, and the jar literally, it was disgusting. It was full of maggots. Obviously, that lid has failed. I have two that do not have any bugs, and a lot of times they can fail without having any bugs on them, but you can still tell. If you have been around the block enough, you can still tell. So this is the first one, and I had it on my shelf downstairs looks good. Lid looks intact. I don't store with my rings on. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, that lid has failed. Now, if I hold it up to a jar of the exact same product, you can see clearly that the color difference has changed. So this is zucchini relish, and this is the jar that I'm actively, obviously, eating out of. But I hold them side by side. Let me maybe move my hand. We can see that the color is different. Now, obviously, these are different batches, but the zucchini here is much more vibrant, whereas when I look at this one, the green is muted. It's more like a greeny yellow. I'm like, that's not okay. So I came and I just had to test the lid a little bit, and the lid came right off. One I had to fight for, but I'm glad I did, is this one. This is French onion soup we just made. And I looked at this and I'm like, that seal has failed. Friends, why has that seal failed? There is a lot of air left in here. I wouldn't have left this big of a gap. So when you can, you do want to go up to the recommended mark. Things like this. If I would have canned this like this and saw, hey, that's all the soup that I had left, I would have topped this up with water. I would have 1,000% taken this to the top with water. Things do siphon when you make, like when you can green beans, when you can peaches, when you can things when you can potatoes in water. The water does siphon out. So I have green beans where the green beans are full. My water level is maybe down here, but that's still good because it came out of the canner with the water level down here. That's still fine. This did not come out of the canner this low. I can promise you. And I'm sitting there and I touched it. And I wasn't even really paying attention, to be completely honest. I think I was just like running my hands over the top, kind of trying to see if any were loose, I guess. Like I wasn't really thinking. I just was like, that doesn't look right. And I'm like, that seal has failed. And when I touched it, I heard it pop. And I'm like, ooh, I just heard a pop. But the lid was on. The lid wasn't. I had to fight for this one a little bit. Now, here's the thing. I didn't have to use my nails. I just took my fingers and I did apply considerable force and I was able to pop this off. This seal had failed. If I had let this sit down there, if I hadn't have found it and I let it sit down there, the seal probably would have continued to go bad, and to the point that I could have, like the zucchini relish, I could have just gone like that and it would have come right off in my hand. A lot of times when a seal fails, I'm not really paying attention. I'm just like going and grabbing jars. And I typically grab like the top of it. And when you do that, the lid comes off in your hand. That French onion soup, I had to fight a little bit for. And it was, I heard that pop and I'm like, I'm not leaving until I get this lid off because this lid is going to come off. Now, if a jar is sealed, you cannot pry it off with your hands. So I don't have the right lid. But if you put, I have a wide mouth and a regular mouth. But if you have a jar that is fully sealed, you can get your nails under there. And at least I can't break that seal. I need to put a knife under there. I have my jar opener. I need to do something in order to break that seal. I can't break it with my hands. So don't be afraid to apply considerable force to check your cans. There is a saying, when in doubt, throw it out. And I do that. If, let's say, I pulled this zucchini jam, which I'm like, or zucchini jelly, which I'm like, that's not what that's supposed to look like. That's way too pale. And my lid wouldn't have come off. Let's say I really did have to go get a tool to pop this lid. I have doubt that this is okay. That's not the color that I canned it at. I would have still thrown this away. Even if you don't have rings on, the whole reason you don't want to can or you don't want to store your canned goods with rings is because if this does pop, the ring will hold it in place and the ring will help it reseal. But it will have gone bad and it will reseal. So you'll still get like the pop when you open it. You're still happy to use a tool to open it, but it is not a healthy product. So there is a saying, when in doubt, throw it out. But the one thing that also really helped me, and I still, before I say this, I still live by that saying, when in doubt, throw it out. And I always look at a canned item that has failed. I always give a little thank you to Jesus. Thank you for letting me notice that that can has failed, rather than having me consume potentially something that could make me sick. I hear my water boiling, so let's put the raspberry jam in there, and then we'll talk about the secret rule. Okay, the secret rule. Secret rule. Botulism is killed if you boil something for 5 minutes. So the whole reason that we have all these concerns around canning is that a home canned item can contain botulism, and botulism can kill you. So let's go down that rabbit hole real quick. When I first started canning, I was terrified. So I first just started water bath canning, and I just did jams and spaghetti sauces and pickles. High acidic foods like your pickles, like your jams, are not going to grow botulism. Things that have vinegar, like a nice amount of vinegar in them, are not going to grow botulism. Your tomato juices, you add lemon juice to tomato juice, you're not going to grow botulism. Even if you forget to add lemon juice, which I have done, your food is still fine. So again, when you do something and you can it and you get it off the shelf and it looks sketchy, throw it away. But like that tomato sauce, which I forgot to add lemon juice to, I went through like a whole panic. Oh my God, should I throw this out? Is this going to grow botulism? What is this going to do? And what I ended up finding out, which gave me a lot of relief, and it still really makes me feel good, makes me feel better, is that tomato juice, that tomato sauce. Again, as long as it's sealed fine and it's on the shelf and everything looks fine, the seal doesn't pop, the color doesn't change. As long as it's sealed and it's sat on the shelf sealed, it's fine. If you have any concerns though, you can boil something for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes kills botulism. So that's typically what I do just for everything. I know that how to can. I've moved on to pressure canning. I feel confident in what I do. I've been doing it for years, and I'm still here to tell the tale. And I think a lot of it is there is a healthy amount of fear, because if you do something wrong, you can make people sick, 1,000%. However, finally being in this world, knowing the rules, knowing how canning works, there is so much fear around canning, especially home canning, that does not need to be there. I think we have kind of been a little like manipulated in this society to think that home canned food is not safe for you. It's weird. Why would you do that? Whereas the things you buy from the grocery store, like there was just another, I forget what it was. It's out of Florida. Lettuce, maybe? The listeria outbreak because people are dying from eating salads. I mean, when you get into the regular commercial industry, there's constantly recalls because people are getting sick and dying from contaminants on veggies and in produce and stuff like that. So, and even in canned and commercial grade canned products, it still 1,000% happens. So, I think there's been a lot of undue fear towards home canning, and I don't think it needs to be there. If you're at all concerned about something, throw it away. But for an added precaution, it's sealed fine. It looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it on the shelf. Boil it for 5 minutes, and you're good. But again, there's high acidic foods. Don't grow. Botulism does not grow in them. So things like my fermented honey and garlic. A lot of people say that's supposed to be kept in the fridge. Honey and garlic individually do not grow botulism, especially when you put them together. You cannot grow botulism in honey. So if you are on the verge of trying to learn how to can, I highly recommend you learn how to can. It's a great way to preserve your produce, and it's a great way to take what's coming in right now that's really cheap and spread it out over winter. I have a lot of friends that have young kids, and their kids just love to eat berries. And all my friends say, we need a second job just to buy enough berries for my kids to eat, which is 100% true. And so I don't have kids. I don't know how this works, so take this with a grain of salt. But you could feed them the berries now, but then take the berries that you're able to either grow or buy cheap because they're in season and turn them into jams and jellies and sauces. And then they don't have the fruit to eat, but then you could put that raspberry jam in the winter on a biscuit, and that's how they get their raspberries, instead of actually eating the fresh raspberries. I don't have kids. I don't actually know if that would fly or not, but that's my plan for whenever I do have kids. Okay, so we're just gonna wait for the jam to can. That was a little rant. This is why I should just bring you guys along for everything. We randomly find things to talk about. I think we're ready. I think my lids have dried, so let's go dump the rice and the sugar into our buckets, then we'll call this video a day. That is going to be a good amount of rice for future eating. Love it. Love that we have that on hand. The rest of that sugar will go in the sugar container that's already down there. I'll just top that off. But that last lid is not dry yet. So we're just going to wait a little bit for this lid to continue to dry. I want them to be completely dry before I put the lids on. But now I get to truck them downstairs. But thank you guys so much for joining me on this rainy day. We're at least getting stuff done, right? So you guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, friends.